Greetings, brothers and sisters. I have one of the funniest comments I've ever received. Maybe it'd be probably one of my favorite comments that I've covered here. Coming, like I can't wait to get into it. It'll be at the end of the video, but it is epic and hilarious. It has to do with the Trump supporter who, a bunch of bum Trump supporters left comments yesterday. Maybe there'll even be more coming in as I do this video. And then there's some normie comments from, I guess, Jen Psaki fans were upset. So I actually have a very robust comment section to do at the end of this, whatever's going on. But I want to start off with this thing with Trumpers. Like Trumpers, I wish they would just go away. I wish Trump would just go away, and then the Trumpers along with them. I got a couple of clips I got off the news and how the media is, wanting like a January event, like what happened in January 2021 in New York City over Trump's indictment. They hope Trump supporters come up and have a violent protest. And all of you Trumpers have to realize this, and you won't because you're stupid, right? Like at this point, it's over. Trump had a disastrous failed presidency, and he went out with such a whimper, embarrassing himself. And his character, like I said, he was my favorite president as a character, like by far, during his initial years in the election and all that. How happy it was for me to see all those liberal news media personnel who didn't get the memo that Trump was going to be president react, right? Like they were like Rachel Maddow, and they were like broken, right? All that stuff. It was really funny and it was great, but Trump didn't deliver, right? It's like some, Trump supporters are like some single mom with like 3 kids who's desperate, and she gets romanced by some flim flam man who's going to solve all her problems, and she buys into it, and of course the guy's a scumbag, like you can tell right off the bat, but everyone else can tell but her, and leaves her in a worse position with her desperate situation raising 3 kids by herself. And he fails completely. He ditches her, goes away, and comes back a year later, 4 years later, whatever it is. And she takes him back because she's just high on hopium, right? That's, Trump supporters. And everyone should realize that protests, and I'm going to show you the evidence already, what they want. They want this thing, right? I'll say this again. It's evidence that they want these events to go violent. They need these events to go violent. And they have agent provocateurs. They have, people who work either as official, employees of one of the intelligence community apparatus, or that they are handled, someone like Jacob Chansley, somebody who's handled by them. And they have these people in there to make these things go south, right? To make them go in a way that's they can use in sound bites and news. And so it's to their advantage to protest. Protests don't work. They backfire. And they need reasons to push their agenda through. And their reasons are, Trumpers going nuts and being violent conspiracy theorists. That's what they're pitching here. If you don't realize that, you're walking into a trap just like Trump walked you into a trap before, then, what worth do you have as a person? Like, how many times do you have to be fooled before you realize it's just, there's no solution here. There's no saviors coming to rescue America. America's effed. We're all effed on a material level, and it's just that we have to deal with it one way or another. Like in a just mature, all right, it's over. America isn't going to be number one in the near future. It's just going to happen. And, and who's to say it's going to be worse, because things are pretty bad right now. Like, who's to say that's going to be worse, right? Who knows what it's going to be like. I mean, for some people, it just won't be able to deal, but, we all have to survive this thing as best we can. And it's, going to be interesting at the very least, right? It's going to be something new, something we haven't seen or experienced before. The collapse of our system and civilization. So, that'll be an interesting experience where instead of watching life on TV, you'll be living life, right? Instead of outsourcing all of what you have to do to live life, food and clothing and heat and water and all these things. you're going to have to contribute to it. You're going to have to learn to do these things that the system has been doing for you. And the foreign countries have been, slave labor in foreign countries have been doing for you, right? You're going to have to live life as a human being, like engage in the food process, engage in all these things. It's actually kind of fun. It's like better. It's like, wow, this is, this is not a bad thing to be doing. It's kind of, it's a different experience. But anyways, let's get into it now. Let's start here with Trump and his most recent fear-baiting thing he's doing here. Okay, so here's Fishboy again. He's doing the Fishboy thing here, and he's going to get into, well, here it is.
Here we go.
Here we go, Fishboy.
Just as I predicted. Now,
look at it. Just his face is constantly in. Like, come on, he looks like a character from the fourth edition of the Star Wars when they had that second trilogy, where they had those, that annoying character, whatever his name is, Jar Jar Binks people. Like he looks like the leader of Jar Jar Binks.
With this and his. Be gone with him.
There you go. Fishboy.
now we're playing with the big stuff. The N-word, that is the nuclear word.
Okay, I thought the N-word was something else, but, let's go with nuclear.
Is now being used front and center.
Front and center.
All over the world.
All over the world they're using that nuclear word.
This situation was caused by us. It's what happens when you have incompetent people running your government. All I can say to you is, right now, drop down and pray.
Drop down and pray.
Does Joe Biden understand that the reason NATO currently exists loaded up with cash is because President Donald J. Trump insisted that delinquent nations, of which there were many, carry their own weight and pay their fair share?
Who is this Donald J. Trump that you speak of?
If not, I insisted, we will not protect them from the evil empire. We will not do it.
Who is the evil empire? You mean from America? Who's the evil empire? You won't protect them from what evil empire? What are you talking about? Who is the evil empire?
The money came pouring in after decades of non-payment and abuse. I haven't heard Joe say, thank you, President Trump, for the great job you did.
What's wrong, Joe? You ingrate?
Perhaps I'm just not listening. But
maybe you're not. Maybe your ears are full of water, Fishboy.
The fact is, when I was president, I got NATO nations to pay hundreds of billions of dollars into NATO. They were all delinquent, most of them.
And he got it done. Trump just is great.
And it was a disaster. They had no money. The United States was paying for NATO at a level that they've never paid before. Now NATO's stuffed up with cash. Thank you very much, President Trump.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
China, Russia, and Iran, not to mention North Korea and other countries, have placed the U.S. in a very bad and dangerous position. They are dividing up the world as we sit around and let them do it. They no longer respect the United States, but they will. Go out and vote. 2024, we have to win back the White House. Thank you very much.
Okay, so he's using nuclear war, the potential for nuclear war, and the fact that he's the only guy that can stop it. I showed you this in the last video, as his fear-based pitch plea, right? And nobody's stopping nothing, right? Like that, if I was running for president and I'm not, right? My slogan would be nobody's stopping nothing, because, Fishboy ain't going to stop it. Fishboy was the catalyst for all the bad things that are happening now. They needed a reason to do all the things that they were doing, and to have this monster, I don't want to call it liberal, but whatever it is, neoliberal power grab, right? This whole, movement that's happening. They needed a guy. They needed a villain. They needed somebody to motivate. He's the center. Without Trump, they have nothing. You take Trump out of the equation, they can't do all the stuff they're doing, because they have, they don't have some somebody to, blame and to create anger and fear against so that they can push their agenda through. Trump is the center of their universe. So let's get to this thing here. This was the big headline in Huffington Post, their cover yesterday. Donald Trump indictment ends decade of perceived invincibility. The former president's courtroom appearance will represent reckoning for Teflon Don, who until now has skirted serious legal jeopardy despite decades of scrutiny. There's Stormy Daniels, right? As Trump has called her Horseface, so don't talk to me about Fishboy, right? You don't have a problem with Horseface. Don't have a problem with Fishboy. Horseface and Fishboy together again. If you don't like that, there we go. There's Stormy Daniels. We know that she had an affair. Like, it isn't something. He paid her money. Trump did it. And so, a completely innocent person. Come on. The guy's involved in criminal activity. They could get the guy anytime they want. His big corporation, whatever it is. They could get him on any number of... everyone who makes money like this crosses a line. And Trump has always talked about this and joked about it and skirted around these things because, he did this on The Apprentice. That was kind of what made him an interesting character as president, right? Because he wasn't hiding his corruption, right? But, he's totally done it. And, there's no reason to think that he's your savior as a saint because he's never provided any information that would indicate that that's the case. Trump indictment, news orgs want indictment unsealed, cameras in court. Of course they do, because they want to make this thing into a spectacle. These sealed indictments remember, that was the big thing around the Q movement. Okay, so I don't watch the news very much anymore because because YouTube TV now has some kind of a blocking device so that my screen flow won't screen capture what I'm watching, which sucks. Which is good too, because and there's so much other things out there in terms of content. I used to watch the news when I ate breakfast and at lunch, and mostly I'll watch some kind of sports thing I eat quickly. And once in a while, I scroll through the news channels, mostly MSNBC and CNN, because that's the most, liberal and whatever. But I used to, every time I watched the news, I'd get some sort of content out of it. But yesterday, I turned on the news, and I think it must have been at lunchtime. I don't know what was happening. And Marsha Wallace was on, and I haven't seen her in maybe a year or so. And the same thing with Erin Burnett. And I think it's because of the, the booster. She's just gone full ghoul. It's not just like a physical deterioration of getting old, but it's like, dead eyes. You see this a lot. No life force, no jing, no prana, no life energy. Just like weak and, just shriveling up, right? And again, this isn't about physical appearance. This is about their spiritual condition and their poor life choices. I haven't seen Marsha Wallace probably since, I did a thing on, it's like a little, I'll play a part of the compilation of them talking about the big lie, and I put devil's horns on people. But you can see now Marsha Wallace has gotten has gone much more into the land of ghoul land. Like she's, going, she's not gone full ghoul yet, but it's almost there, right? And you see this a lot now. But then there's what she's saying, which is about Trump conspiracy theorists. So let me show you a little bit of that meme, and then we'll get into the thing here. And so let's get to it here.
Is a lie. But this lie, his big lie.
The big lie.
His own big lie.
The big lie. I doubt any of them are stupid enough to believe the big lie.
Of the big lie.
By the big lie. Deranged by the big lie.
It won't surprise any of you to learn that the ex-president's closest allies came to his vigorous defense last night after it was revealed that he would be indicted. The striking thing, though, is this insidious part about coalescing the party around Trump is the coalescing around the conspiracy theories.
So we're going to come back to this conspiracy theories. And then there's Alex Witt was doing the same thing this morning. You can watch this all day. This stuff with how the Trumpers are going to storm New York and do bad things. And that's, what they want. They want that. Like, this is their Christmas, right? That would be the best thing that could ever happen to them. Is Trumpers go to New York and act up. But look at her energy level. Like, she's just dead inside. She's lost all, barely hanging on there. We'll get into Fetterman. Fetterman came back. Another one. These, the ghouls are ghouling, right?
And the permission structure it is creating for violence. 2 weeks ago, Trump loyalist Marjorie Taylor Greene said that the ex-president's supporters shouldn't support what was at the time a looming indictment. She said she would not travel to New York, but in a complete reversal, as has been mentioned on this broadcast, Greene tweeted earlier today to her audience of more than 600,000 followers on Twitter that in fact she is going to New York on Tuesday to protest what she calls the unconstitutional witch hunt. Marjorie Taylor Greene's call to protest comes at the same.
Are you going to make it there, Sunshine? You're fading fast here, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC, which I talked about yesterday, are there for the other side. They're there for the other side to rally the forces, right? It's left-right cover. It's cover for your side, right? Like, you can see flaws in your side. You could say, well, Trump isn't that great, but look at how bad Jojo Magoo is. That's a common occurrence. And the left says the same thing. Well, Jojo Magoo isn't great, but look at how bad Trump is. AOC is so bad, you'll forget about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene is so bad, we forget about how stupid AOC is, right? This is how they do it. Right, left cover.
Time that pro-Trump accounts have been actively peddling conspiracy theories about just why Trump was indicted. Doesn't mention hush money. It talks about this bizarre theory that you may not have heard of if you don't spend time down the right-wing rabbit holes.
She looks like someone who really has no hair. And I mean, you can see it's actually her hair because of the part in the middle, but she has no hair. And she's just completely has radioactive poisoning or something, right?
It goes like this. George Soros is behind it all. It made it onto Fox News last night thanks to Matt Gaetz.
George Soros stuff is for remedial. You're not a truther if you're talking about George Soros. He's the guy they give you. He's the guy that they give you as an enemy, as a person, a catch-all. Oh, it's got to be Soros, right? All these lame, this is an Alex Jones thing, but even, back to Glenn Beck and now Tucker Carlson. It's what Fox News talks about. It's not real truther stuff. If you're talking about George Soros, you're clueless or you're a scammer, whatever it is. But let's get into the other thing here.
By your colleague Ben Collins, it only takes one crazy to cause incredible destruction.
See, there it is. That's the left's whole thing about, what they're doing with these events for, what control, for the control of a certain, right that Americans, believe that they have because of the Constitution, right? It's one crazy. They bring crazy people out to do something crazy, often some sort of stage thing. And now they want this in this event. You just said it. It only takes one crazy to do a lot of damage, yeah. And then they focus on this crazy and they take away your rights because of some crazy stooge that's either fake altogether or is somebody that's been manipulated and handled or some operation or whatever. So, whatever kind of provocateur. And that's what they want. They love it. Listen to what they're saying here. This is what they want. This is what they want to happen. Because they don't care about people. They don't care about innocent people. They want bad things to happen that they can blame on the Republicans so they can push their agenda. And if you give them that, let's just watch them here.
Hi, Alex.
It's so great to be here with you this morning. Thanks for having me. So, yes, that is exactly the threat right now. We're not seeing the sort of January 6th large organization happening. What we're seeing is Donald Trump on his own social platforms is setting up enemies, right? He's using these platforms to target Alvin Bragg, the judge in his case, and Stormy Daniels. It's no wonder that she's getting these sort of messages and getting these threats, you know. So that is the very real danger. The bigger problem, or the bigger look at you know, credible threats, we're not really seeing much in terms of violence or specific plans or threats, you know. There is an event happening on Tuesday. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a conspiracy theorist named Jack Posobiec, and the New York Young Republicans Club. They had an event a week ago. People, it was no. Again, I think that's really right. The threat is coming from a specific person who hears these demonizations of these people from Donald Trump and, you know, his lackeys, for lack of a better word. Hearing that these are the people that are the problem, these are the people that are threatening their leader. And, you know, we know what happens when you have that kind of demonization and specific targeting. We have examples like Paul Pelosi, right, being singled out and attacked with a hammer.
Did somebody say hammer?
Demanding to know, where's Nancy? Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it?
I don't know.
Where's the hammer? Is it on the, go up on the other floor. Somebody go up there and stop the hammering. Stop the hammering. Call fuck Griffin. I don't care who the fuck to call. Stop the hammering. Empty out the goddamn control room and find out where this is going on. It's either there or out there somewhere. Out of control. Jesus Christ. Crazy sound coming in my ear. This stupid hammering. I told you why I wanted those words cut. It just sucks. It sucks to be out here with this out of control Any thing can come into my ear at any moment. These things. How do you say this guy's last name? Demanding to know, where's Nancy?
At home, we have examples like Cesar Sayak, from 2018 and 2019, who was sending bomb threats and then pipe bomb.
Yeah, it's very concerning.
I'm
sorry you dropped out for a second, but the reality is that, you know, Donald Trump himself said there will be death and destruction. I mean, that's frightening, Mark. Do you have a sense of federal law enforcement, what they're following up on these online threats? Do you think they're knocking on doors right now, perhaps even more so than they would have done before the indictment?
Well, Alex, look, this is really...
Okay, so this is going to tie in. I'm going to get back into this when I do the comments from Trumpers, because Trumpers are, you know, just, I mean, come on. Like, what are you doing with your life, right? And this is a great comment. Like, I'm like, it's just so funny. But I want to get to Fetterman too here as well. So the thing about this is protests do not work. They backfire all the time. Unless the protest is run by the intelligence community and the powers that be. And they're always run by them, but if they have a specific reason for their, you know, whatever they're doing. And these protests, like the stuff that happened with, say, Antifa and BLM, and how those things have been completely ignored now, and all they talk about is the big event in January. Now, you had all these people watching those other protests and flipping out on Fox News about these protests, and then they did the January thing, and then they were like, well, we get to do it too, and it's like, no, you don't. You got played and tricked and worked by Trump, and, you know, Trump got worked and handled, and it was just, you know, embarrassing. But at this point, Fishboy needs to just go away. He's just he's not funny anymore. Like, he's, you know, he failed so badly at the end, and now he's so desperate. Like, he's talking about not being able to stop, and then he's talking about stopping World War III and nuclear war when he couldn't stop, you know, any of the illiberal agenda that they pushed through. He couldn't stop he went with the vax stuff and all the rest of it. Like, he was just a joke. Embarrassing now. Like, it's pathetic. Like, it went from being funny to pathetic, right? And, like, just a guy who got his nuts clipped right in front of everybody. and he's pretending he still has nuts when they're gone. Like, because, you know, he doesn't have the balls to pull this off.
Because no one thinks we have the balls to pull this off.
So actually, I had the TV on, and I went to do something in the kitchen. The TV was on, and the MSNBC was on. And I heard this exchange, and it encapsulates everything I'm saying. And one thing I'm going to repeat several times, hopefully I'll remember to repeat this several times in this video here. Later when I get to the epic comment, hopefully I'll do it then for Trumpers. And it's very important and should be very easy for you to see. The arrest is good for Trump, and they're even talking about that in on TV, all these reporters and things. And the big event that happened in January, and any sort of a violent outburst in New York City by Trump supporters is great for the Democrats, right? So just think about that. Like, just, like, understand what's good for which group, right? Which group benefits. Because it's a binary system controlled by a unitary system of power and control that has a binary system that plays out for all of us, right? For average people. And it's a left-right paradigm, which, most of you guys are rejecting because you want to buy into somehow Trump is good or whatever, you're Trumpers. But in terms of this binary system, there's two sides of power, and some things are good for one side, some things are good for the other. So let's watch this here.
In our lives, this man incites violence, but what we're seeing with this indictment is that it's not just Donald Trump. Now his allies in the Republican Party are fanning the flames for violence. This is really probably the most indicative thing besides January 6th of the rot within the Republican Party. I mean, Jonathan, I'm glad you opened with footage of January 6th, but I would go further back in time. I mean, Olivia remembers well when we were working on these domestic security issues, and Donald Trump said there was an invasion at the southern border. Then someone shoots up an El Paso Walmart. Donald Trump says, the great replacement theory is a real thing. Someone shoots up a grocery store in Buffalo. And then we saw after the FBI raided his home in Mar-a-Lago last August that the federal judge who signed the warrant received death threats. And then shortly thereafter, a man with an AR-15 and a nail gun tried to storm the FBI field office in Cincinnati, Ohio, and urged others to go kill FBI agents on site. This is a trend, it's a pattern, and it's something that I'm stunned people like Mitch McConnell haven't come out and condemned.
All of the things he just listed are great for Democrats, and great for the intelligence community, and great for the government that wants to clamp down on people's rights. And so, yeah, it's a pattern, but who's responsible for the pattern, right? Who's really behind these things that you speak of? And so when right-wing Republicans and Trumpers post things on the internet, inflammatory things, and they go out and they say things like this, that will spark, some sort of incident, or can be traced back to making them culpable for an incident, then that screws everybody else. And it's something these guys want. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking about it all the time. These are winning talking points for them. And, these dummy Trump supporters have to understand this, right? That all these things that you're posting and the way that you're being on the internet and following Trump and talking about Soros and all these other dumb things doesn't help you. It hurts everybody else. It hurts you the most and hurts everybody else. And you're just walking into a trap, and they're playing on your emotions. And then they use those actions that your emotions generate, whether they've been faked, whether it's staged, whatever, and it's a buildup, and then you just keep on walking into the trap.
Well, I'm glad you took us through that, Miles, because it is important for people to remember that it wasn't just January 6th. You talked about Mitch McConnell. I want to talk about Senator Lindsey Graham, because he tweeted that Trump should bust windows and punch a cop. Marjorie Taylor Greene said she's coming to New York to lead protests. Should we view these statements as calls to action, Olivia?
I believe so. Words matter, especially when you're in a position of leadership, especially when you have people.
words matter, right? Words matter. Words matter, and then words matter, and things that are done here matter. You know what doesn't matter to these guys? Jojo Magoo droning 8 children in Afghanistan.
Supporters who are looking at you and looking at you for guidance, right? And we've seen, like Miles said, when these individuals put statements out like that, people follow their calling and show up. So we'll see what happens this week in New York City. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who sits on the Homeland Security Committee, which is appallingly saying that she's going to go out there and lead a protest. Apparently they're planning a rally with other, by the way, white nationalist attendees who are known for their far-right, like white nationalist supremacy, like narratives that they espouse. So where does this lead to? And, it's shameful. Lindsey Graham used to be a respected conservative in the Republican Party. To see him out there pandering for fundraising, for grifting, for Trump is absolutely just abhorrent.
So if you turn on Fox News and they're talking about something, whether it be AOC or whatever it is, it's great for them. They want AOC. They want that, right? And these people want the Trumpers to do stupid things and say stupid stuff, right? And it hurts us in the truth community. Those of us who aren't talking about Soros or some of these, remedial, hand-picked, people that these theories, these remedial theories of hand-picked people, they put out there as bait, right? And they want you to do and say stupid things because other people who might look at these theories can dismiss them because they're crazy and they're stupid, right? From the right, for the far right, the QBs and all the rest of it.
Olivia, I agree with you. I am old enough to remember when Lindsey Graham, Senator Graham.
Wait, you agree with her? What a shocker. There was a tweet where Lindsey Graham said Trump should go punch a cop and break some windows. And they were reading that tweet. Lindsey Graham is a total tool who Trump gave out his personal number in the primary. And then Lindsey Graham, I showed you this before, Lindsey Graham made a commercial where he was destroying his cell phones, hitting them with a golf club and dropping them off a bridge. I mean, it was so stupid. And now he just, he he gets down on his knees and services Trump every chance he gets. And these clowns love it, right? This is Jonathan Capehart. I did something on him before. He's a Sunday morning guy.
Was a part of the rational part of the Republican Party that actually wanted to get things done, like a comprehensive immigration bill that he joined with the late Senator John McCain to try to get through. Miles, how much of
He's making it sound like before Trump, the Republicans were great in their eyes. Like they were good politicians and they respected them and they did, right? Come on. But this is the big part they're leading up to. Their thirst for a violent protest. That's what they want, these Democrats, and you can see it.
The fact that this is happening in New York is dissuading people from either heeding Trump's call for protest or even talking about the fact that they are. I mean, it's been well documented about how the January 6th insurrection was organized. Maybe they've learned?
Well, let's go back to the first part of the question, Jonathan. It's New York, and whether he knows it or not, Donald Trump doesn't exactly have a huge base of support in New York City. It's not exactly MAGA ground zero. But the concern to me is less about the immediate arraignment in New York City and more about other aspects of violence that could occur across the United States. I mean, I cited that example of Trump's home in Florida being raided by the FBI, then a man in Ohio launching an attack against the FBI. This is what we've seen in Trump's history. They will find targets of opportunity outside of New York City. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not hoping for violence. No one's hoping for violence.
Yeah, you're lying, right? You're totally hoping for violence. Why would you even say that? That is the ultimate. This guy's giving you everything you need to know. They're pleasuring themselves thinking about the violence happening. I mean, that's how much they want it. That's how much it wins for Democrats. This wins for them. This is what they want, right? And so, I want to cover this more when I get to the comment section. So let's get to Fetterman. But that's what this is. They're obviously hoping for this. It's this is all they're talking about on CNN and MSNBC. out of an hour-long program, this is what your half hour of it's devoted to Trump and his indictment. And they know the indictment's going to suck. And they know it's not going to stick. And so this is what they're talking about. Trump supporters acting out in a way that they can use and talk about for years to come as they strip away your rights and suppress you and deplatform you and all the other things. Just one more thing here. The mainstream media and the intelligence community and the government realized that when the internet commenced, and maybe they knew this would happen, maybe they didn't, but they certainly didn't have a plan for it in the beginning. When the internet commenced, and there was this element of what we now call the truth community that came out of it, they couldn't compete with this anymore. The mainstream media, which is just a mouthpiece for big business and big government and the intelligence community and all these narratives they put out, this propaganda, and they couldn't compete anymore because what was being presented in YouTube videos and websites and these other things was much more compelling. And people like me, all of you on the internet, we can go beyond the very narrow bandwidth, the constrictive bandwidth, and the limited narratives that exist there that the CNN and MSNBC are shackled by. They can't talk truth. They got to act a certain way. They can't even be human and talk with their hearts. They just got to go out there and read their scripts, and they suck at it, and it's not very compelling. And so they were losing. They're still losing to the internet, right? They can't compete. They'll never be able to produce the kind of sincerity and honesty and, things that are just so much more truthful, even, with all the disinformation in the truth community. They couldn't compete. And I've talked about this with, CNN and that guy, Donny, whatever his name is, the leprechaun guy, and Brian Stelza and all these people. They can't compete. And so what they've tried to do is deplatform people and label them and, call them crazy conspiracy theorists and, use Trump and these, acting out events as ways to, shut that down. They can't win in a fair fight. And Alex Jones and Trump and all these shills and all these people are helping them. And if you like, some of the things Alex Jones says or Trump or whatever, you say, well, this guy does talk truth sometimes. Well, then what difference does that make? He's hurting you and all of us. He's a part of their agenda. He's the center of their agenda. And so why do you like a guy that is actually ultimately, he's a Judas goat leading you to slaughter, right? I mean, that's what he did in the event in January. And this is so obvious. Like, you should be able to see it. It's willful denial that's keeping Trumpers from realizing that this guy is a total disaster for them. All right, so I finally want to go to Fetterman here, and then I want to get to these epic comments. So this is Giselle Barreto Fetterman. And I'm going to go in reverse order. But I've been keeping her Twitter up because we've been looking for her husband. And here he is in the back here, right? My wife said it looks photoshopped, which it does because she's so much bigger than him. But his head is, like he's just lost weight, looks horrible. The best day of the year, Easter, a tradition Zhao, that's her husband, started when he first became mayor, and we haven't missed it a year since. Here it is. Cuddles for kids. That doesn't sound good. I bet Jojo Magoo will show up. Photos with the Easter Bunny, baskets for kids, activities, giveaways, and more. Join us for an Easter celebration. This is here. It was highlighted 11 years ago on an episode of A Day in the Life. I came across it recently. The grace was itty bitty baby as we lugged around Easter toys. And there's John Fetterman, America's coolest mayor. This is him back then. John Fetterman. But here's the thing here. So they don't give you the front view. It's going to spark, lots more conspiracy theories. Fetterman, disappearing and all the rest are cloned. It's got a little rainbow mat there, giving hugs to the family, right? It's just so sad. It's not like Cuomo's coming out of the basement. Let yourself sit by the apple tree. And then here it is. 6 weeks after entering Walter Reed National Military Center for Inpatient Treatment for Depression, Senator John Fetterman shares his struggle with depression and his health in more intimate interview with Jane Pauley, thought she was dead, at least retired, this Sunday morning.
It's like, you just won the biggest, race in the country. And the whole thing about depression is that objectively, you may have won, but depression can absolutely convince you that...
It can absolutely. They say absolutely. They have to give subtitles to this guy. But his wife posted this.
Depression can absolutely convince you that you actually lost. And that...
Boom. It absolutely.
That's exactly what happened. And that was the start of a downward spiral.
Nobody represents a downward spiral for himself, the country, and everything else than one John J. Fetterman.
Very much. Very much. I had stopped leaving my bed.
He stopped leaving his bed, running away from his wife.
I've stopped eating. I've dropping weight.
Stopped eating, stopped leaving his bed.
I stopped engaging some of the most things that I love in my life.
Fetterman smash. He couldn't Fetterman smash anymore. He couldn't Fetterman smash. Okay, so as happens so much here at Pox of the Future, I got the leaked audio. They dubbed this in, but we got the actual leaked audio of one John J. Fetterman. Fetterman smash. Fetterman want to smash. Fetterman depressed. Absolutely Fetterman depressed. Fetterman absolutely depressed. Fetterman thought he won. Fetterman feel not like winner. Fetterman lose weight. Fetterman now know. Fetterman in downward spiral. Well, what about winning? You did win, and did you win? And if you did win, why don't you feel better? Fetterman absolutely married to witch. Fetterman sad. Fetterman wife cut Fetterman's nuts off. Fetterman no have nuts. Fetterman used to have nuts, no longer have nuts. Fetterman lose weight, no smash. Okay, so I just want to say one serious thing about this. As much as I say serious things, but depression is caused by many things. There's the electromagnetic poisoning and all the stuff to do with Wi-Fi, all these things. Diet, unnatural human life, bad foods, toxins, all these physical things. I'm not talking about when something bad happens or something, a tragedy happens, you lose a loved one, you suffer something that's depressing, right? That's naturally depressing. That's naturally hard to get through, like a natural sadness. I'm not talking about sadness. I'm not talking about grief. I'm talking about depression as a psychological condition. And the major cause of depression is when you're not aligned with what you are naturally and with your soul's path. You're disconnected from God and you're living a lie and your life is going in the wrong direction. And that's the essence of depression. When you're not doing what you're supposed to do. When you've lost your true purpose, your goal here, you're wandering around lost, just going through the motions, you've checked out, and or you're willfully going against God's will, and you just feel bad about it because you're, messing up and you're doing the wrong thing. And so depression for anybody who's in that state of going against God's will, going against their soul's path, is, there's depression happening whether they feel it or not. Because deep down, it just cuts the energy, the divine energy, cuts you off from love and cuts you off from all these things. And his wife, who's a total nightmare, and she's always talking about how women are getting the short end of the stick. Fetterman have short stick. And how, all these ways that, women are being screwed over. But she's clearly denuded this guy and has been a disaster for him. And all the things that implies. Somebody sent me this from the Babylon Bee. Buffalo guy tagged and released back into the wild. I wanted to show this right before I got into the comments because this is all going to feed together here. Okay, without further ado, let's get to the epic comment. I got to find it here. That's not it. There's a bunch of ones here. I got to get to all of them. But I made a couple short videos about Trump. And I got some, upset butthurt Trumpers commenting, which is great. And this one was called "You Tell Him, Fishboy." That was my headline to the video. It's a short video that talks about Trump as Fishboy. And so this person writes, "Wow, you are a real winner yourself, aren't you?" I never claimed to be a real winner, but thank you. A grown man calling the best president in decades Fishboy. I've read this so many times. This is this great, classic, wonderful comment here. I mean, it isn't my birthday or anything, and this person just delivers this. I read it to my wife. She had a joke for it. A grown man calling the best president in decades Fishboy. Does that include Millard Fillmore? Right? There was, we talked about this for a while. A grown man calling the best president in decades Fishboy. Show your face. Let's see if it's better looking than your brain cells. Well, you have looked at my brain cells. Is that it, right? I mean, come on. Is that supposed to hurt my feelings? This isn't about his physical appearance, although, his face he's got that small mouth, but he's developed into this Fishboy, I've proven my case. He's definitely, Fishboy is a part of it. And like I said earlier, right, you had no problem with Horseface. Like, Donald Trump mocks people all the time for all, kinds of things, including their looks, and, which is not what I do. When I talk about ghouls, I'm talking about their inner condition being displayed outwardly. That's what I mean when I'm talking about people. Occasionally there's just something that's funny, whatever it is. But again, not serious, don't care about my own looks, right? I'm not, I'm old and fatter than I used to be, old and fat, and I don't, whatever. It's not my problem. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not, right? I'm not concerned about that. Like, I don't care. And if you are happy with your appearance, that's great. Your appearance is your appearance. But in terms of Donald Trump, it's the anger and the hostility he vented towards so many people, all these nicknames he had for people, and then he played all of you, right? Which you're going to get into with some of these other comments. But if you don't like Fishboy, then don't laugh at Trump when he says don't support Horseface, right? If he can call her Horseface, and he banged her, right, and he paid her off, he cheated on his wife, he cheated on all of his wives, he's a serial cheater. And he's just, a scumbag. And that's who he was. From the beginning, I thought it was funny we had a scumbag president. But like all scumbags, he turned on the people. He turned on his pigeons, his marks, his supporters. And he screwed you all with Operation Warp Speed Vax and then all the other things that he did afterwards. And he's just not, he's Fishboy now, right? And that's all he'll ever be. Like, he can't redeem himself. So there's another short video I made, and I got some comments to that. That video was called "Trump Showed the Trumpers Exactly Whose Side He's On." And I was talking about how he lied to you all and said he was going to lock Hillary up. And he said it in a debate, and he was a big part of his platform. And then after he got elected, he was at a victory party, and they were yelling, "Lock her up." And he said, "No, that played well during the election. Now we don't care about that." Which means he lied to you all. He doesn't respect you. He just told you what you wanted to hear. He had no intention of locking her up, and that he's on their side, the Clintons and the people of power, and not your side. And so this is the person's response to that. Well, one person said, "You are a leftist schmuck," which, that's just his inability to comprehend anything else. And the other person said, "You mean focusing on other issues than investigating that something that no longer matters." And then another person said this, "Trump chooses his battles. Hillary was not worth his time and energy. She still needs to be prosecuted for her treasonous actions and murders." Like, completely clueless of what I was saying. He played you. He told you whether he was too busy and this wasn't worth his time. He lied to you and said he was going to do something so you would get his support. And then after you gave him the support, he said, "This thing that matters to you doesn't matter to me. I was just playing you, and I'm not, and actually in the part of the, I'm in a club that Hillary belongs to, and I'm not going to throw her in jail because I don't want to be thrown in jail myself because we're all part of a club. And so you guys are out, and I just played you, and you fell for it, and you fell for it again and again and again, and now you're defending him when you should be looking at it like, oh, this guy's a liar, and he played me, right? He played all of you. And that's why he's Fishboy, right? He turned on his own supporters. And he's, only loyal to people that love him, and then even those people he turns on and throws under the bus when it suits him, and he riles them up and gets them to fight his battles for him, or whatever, is going on with him. He is, a piece of human trash, and he's on the same level as Jojo Magoo. He was fun. He was a better president, better character, but then his character arc took him through Operation Warp Speed, getting worked on COVID, shutting down the economy, and the debacle of the election and the post-election behavior, and getting censored and getting us all, getting all this restrictions put on people because of his, stupid followers and the QBs and him and all this stuff. He's playing for the other team. He's a Judas goat leading you to slaughter. Then I made some shorts, a little thing about Jen Psaki in the video, and then I made some shorts about it. And this person writes, the thing was, Jen Psaki lives up to her name. And the person wrote, you're not too good at your job either, so you have zero room to criticize or critique anyone. Well, at least I'm honest. Like, I'm not reading some other person's or a group of people, of controlling people's BS and not believing it myself. Not believing in what I'm saying myself, right? Like, what I say here, I believe in, whether it's the jokes or whatever it is. She's shilling for something. It's a huge gap. And so you could say, you don't think I'm doing as good a job, but my job is honest, right? I'm doing an honest day's work. I'm being true to myself, right? True to my soul or whatever it is. And all you guys don't have to defend me because I don't care. I'm not trying to win this person over, but I'm saying there's a huge distinction here, which they don't get. But here's the better one. This is the same to Jen Psaki lives up to her name, Psaki. Dude, you're so lame. When you can't refute anything she says, you go criticizing her looks and mannerisms. Lame. I was criticizing how stiff she was, but it was a 1-minute video. And I don't have to dispute her claims and the things she was saying because it's all BS. Like, if you can't see it, it's not my job to tell you and explain reality to you, right? If you're that far removed, this is just some liberal person that shows up on my channel. They're not staying, right? But in general, and this is to Trumpers as well, it should be pretty obvious to you now that we're effed in terms of our civilization. It's all lies. It's all disinformation. The truth community is a joke. Everything is just collapsing around us. And, degradation and corruption and, it's going out epically. And there isn't much quality left in it. But it's funny, and that's why I can laugh at it. But that's all there is. And then there's surviving it and trying to rebuild something on the other side. And, I'm not here to explain that to people who are, desperately in denial and desperately wanting to cling to something that doesn't exist because they can't face up to the fact we're an evil empire and the empire is imploding and there's no stopping it. No one can stop it. And, that's our reality. The system we're 100% dependent on sucks. It's demonic, taking us in the wrong direction. I may say this over and over again. And all the people that are out there who are trying to, shill for the system, whether Trump or Jen Psaki or Jojo Magoo or, Wolf Blitzer or whoever it is, right? Tom Brady, it doesn't matter who it is. Charles Barkley or, any of the, people that are out there, pseudo-celebrities and media people, all these people that are pretending that the system is solvent and it's a good system and it can keep on going and you don't have anything to worry about and we'll get through this. All those people, are lying to you. And they know it, and they're lying to themselves or they're lying to you or whatever it is, right? It's just all lies. I used to feel like I had to catch them in their lies, and I now do it just to mock them. But I don't. It's not my responsibility, because if you can't see it, you can't see it. If you can't see Trump, you can't see Trump. You know, he's Fishboy now, right? You can't see Fishboy, you'll never see Fishboy. Fishboy and Horseface together again. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.